Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at inspireddisorder.com/plus.
This is The Ray Taylor Show.
This is my top 5 vintage Christmas movies. And by vintage, I mean pre-1960. It is Christmas as this episode gets released. So Merry Christmas to all of those that celebrate this holiday. This is a genre of films that, it's been fun to get back into after many years of working in retail and experiencing how many people who celebrate this holiday, how absolutely disgusting they are to anybody that works in an establishment this time of year. Really turns you off to the joyous time of Christmas. But as I gain distance from those years, I appreciate and fall back in love with this holiday that I do not really consider to be a Christian holiday. It is definitely more of a capitalist holiday, people buying gifts, people celebrating a character that was created by Coca-Cola in Santa Claus. And the Christmas movies is a genre of movies, I would say kind of similar to a rom-com, right? It's usually pretty light, family-friendly, has some comedy, has a little bit of drama maybe, and has a lot of heart. Definitely Christmas movies tend to have a lot of heartfelt sentiment, kind of saccharine type of a genre of films, really, feel good type of movies. And it was fun to go back and watch some of the early Christmas films. Some classic films that I've seen before, and many I have never seen. And any excuse to watch older films, I will take part. I have really enjoyed over the past few years getting into a lot more of the classic cinema, as it were. And being able to do that with the genre of Christmas films was a lot of fun to do for this list. So let's get into it with my top 5 favorite vintage Christmas films. These are films that came out before the year 1960. Starting off with number 5, this is a movie that I recently watched the remake for during my 90s Christmas top 5 list. The remake didn't make my list, but it was a great remake. I actually enjoyed the remake more than this film, but it was a good film nonetheless. That is why it is coming in at number 5. That movie being The Bishop's Wife, a movie that came out in 1947. This movie is very similar to The Preacher's Wife, which is the movie I was talking about. This one instead is same story, except for it's during dealing with Catholicism instead of Christianity. Instead of Denzel Washington, this one has Cary Grant playing an angel that is sent to Earth to help a bishop and his wife as they are trying to raise money to build a new cathedral. But this angel is doing more than just helping to raise money. This angel is helping to fix a lot of things that are kind of not working in their relationship. Also, kind of doing a type of a Christmas tale type of a thing with an old rich lady who is kind of a Scrooge in some ways. And kind of has that moment of, kind of recontextualizing a person in the holiday season and making somebody who's grumpy into somebody that's happy and charitable. This is a pretty good movie. It's, I like I said, I like the remake, The Preacher's Wife, better. I mean, The Preacher's Wife, you have Denzel Washington, Whitney Houston, which, getting to hear Whitney Houston sing in that movie is great. Denzel Washington is just as charming, if not more so, than Cary Grant. And, this is a fun movie where you see Cary Grant do some fun magic. There's some fun magic scenes as he does these things to manipulate situations, trying to stoke the fire of love between the bishop and his wife again, trying to change the mind and framework of the rich donor, and trying to do what's right, trying to get these people on the right track. And despite the fact that I think because it ties into the religious aspect of Christianity is probably what sets it back a little bit for me from some movies, it's still a good movie, still heartwarming, and I still enjoyed it. And that is why it is coming in at number 5, The Bishop's Wife. Moving on to my 4th favorite Christmas movie from the years before 1960, vintage Christmas movie. This one is another movie that has multiple remakes, as a few of these movies on this list do, but this one in particular is a lot of fun, and it's a movie I watched actually for the first time last year, and watched the remake this year in preparation, and it made the list for my 90s Christmas movies. But this movie came out in the same year, 1947. That movie, coming in at number 4, is Miracle on 34th Street. Written and directed by George Seaton. This movie is, very much like all of the remakes. You have Santa Claus coming to town, taking part in the Macy's, I think it's the Kohl's Thanksgiving Day Parade, playing Santa Claus, taking over for an alcoholic, a drunk Santa, being hired then to be the Santa Claus for the Kohl's department store. I believe it's Kohl's in this thing. No, Macy's. It is Macy's. I guess the remake is Kohl's. So it's the Macy's Day Thanksgiving Day Parade, and then be the Macy's Santa Claus, where he is recommending other stores, competitors, for having better prices. But that ends up being a great gimmick to get a lot of press on this store and notoriety. So the store loves that Santa Claus is doing this. And then one of the employees of Macy's is doing a psychological analysis of him, which not really equipped to do, but doing it anyway and determining that Santa Claus is crazy. Obviously, they assume he is because he says his name is Kris Kringle, because he says he's Santa Claus. Also, you have the woman who is the main character, Maureen O'Hare, I believe, is the female lead of this movie, and she has a young daughter. They have a neighbor. Kind of weird in this movie, like in the remake, the love interest is already dating the lead in the movie. Where this one, the neighbor, in an attempt to go out with the mom, makes friends with the child and hangs out with the child before ever meeting the mom. Very weird, like doesn't necessarily hold up in modern day times, but it's still that type of aspect of this movie where there's a love story between this guy who's a lawyer, who's her neighbor, and ends up defending Santa Claus in court, trying to prove in a court of law that this man is in fact Santa Claus. Meanwhile, the daughter of this woman is very cynical and doesn't believe in Santa, despite being a very young girl. Something that, her mom has encouraged her to be more grounded and not believe in these fairy tales. So very heartwarming. In this one, they're proving that he's not insane, where in the remake, it is, I think that he's just, I forget the differences, but anyway, it's pretty much the same. I'm sure all of the remakes are very similar, beat for beat, but this one's great. The way it's proved in this one is that the post office brings all of the letters that are addressed to Santa, and because the Postal Service is a federal government department, a government institution, because they say this man is Santa, that is enough for this judge to get out from under presiding over a case that is ruining his reputation. So a great movie. I enjoyed the first one, the remake, the 90s remake, a lot more. But this one's still great. And, a great movie. It's clear why this one has been remade multiple times. There are few versions of Miracle on 34th Street. But the version from 1947 is sitting here at number 4, Miracle on 34th Street. Let's take a little break from the show to promote gift certificates. If you want to purchase artwork for somebody, you have an art lover in your life, and you think they would like my art, but you don't know what painting to get them. I have over 2,000 original pieces of art for sale in my store, along with shirts and prints and other things. So I can understand that being a bit daunting if you're trying to buy something for somebody else. Give them the gift certificate, and then they can go to my website, inspireddisorder.com, and they can buy whatever paintings they want. They can buy whatever prints they want. They can buy t-shirts. They can buy hats. They can buy all the different merch. Gift certificates, which are available currently at inspireddisorder.com. And now let's get back to the show. Moving on to my third favorite vintage Christmas movie. This is, again, another movie that has had many remakes. Probably one of the most remade movies in history, if not the most remade Christmas movie. It is a classic Christmas story. And this one I actually really enjoy. Definitely one of these years I will do a top 5 of this movie, of all the remakes, and would be interested to see where this version stands on that list. But coming in at number 3 is a movie originally titled Scrooge, but also goes by the name A Christmas Carol. Came out in 1951, and it is the classic Christmas Carol story. But I gotta say, black and white, high contrast black and white, gorgeous black and white Christmas movie. And I would say A Christmas Carol, very much a horror movie. It is surprising after seeing a few versions of this story now, how this is pretty much like how tightly wound Christmas is with the horror genre in this movie. And like definitely dark takes on the different ghosts, the presences of ghosts, but absolutely beautiful. There's scenes in this movie that look like they are like based on classic pieces of art, which is amazing. Specifically, a surrealist artist that by Hieronymus Bosch, The Garden of Earthly Delights, which is is a surreal painting, a little bit more darkly toned than this movie, but there's a scene in this movie that feels like has that kind of vibe to it, and it's beautiful. There's like some beautiful imagery in this movie, which I was blown away with. One of the main reasons I really liked it, I do like the performance of the Scrooge in this movie. A great Scrooge. I think that's what separates a lot of the time a good version of this movie. So the actor who plays Scrooge is Alastair Sim, plays Ebenezer Scrooge. A great Scrooge, a great version of this tale, beautifully visualized and stylized, and just great in every way. Very dramatic, very scary, visually amazing. Looks like paintings come to life. And that's why A Christmas Carol, a.k.a. Scrooge, from 1951, is sitting pretty at number 3 on my top 5 vintage Christmas movie list. I really enjoyed it. I was surprised at how much, especially a movie that now I've seen, like this is probably like the 4th or 5th version of this, which I know there's a lot more of the A Christmas Carol story, the Charles Dickens story. This is probably one of my favorite for sure. Absolutely. It's haunting. There's some of the imagery in this is definitely very haunting. And my first time watching this remake of that movie, second time watching Miracle, first time watching The Bishop's Wife. So a lot of first time views so far on this list. So coming in at number 3 is Scrooge, a.k.a. A Christmas Carol from 1951. Moving on to my second favorite vintage Christmas movie. This is a movie that, is definitely a classic that people have had on. I know I've been at Christmases, whether it be at my house growing up or other people's Christmases, and this is a movie that's on a lot. A classic mainstay staple of the Christmas season, but a movie that I've never seen, I've never paid attention to, never watched. So this, in many ways, despite kind of seeing bits and pieces of it throughout my life, this is the first time I've actually sat down and watched this movie that came in at number 2. First time I've watched it in its entirety, and I really loved it. And it's a genre of film that I've started to watch more of because it's one of those blind spots in my overall movie watching career. But that movie, coming in at number 2, is White Christmas. Musicals being the genre of films that I've tried to view more films in that genre, and I do enjoy musicals. I mean, as somebody that grew up with the classic Disney animation movies that are basically musicals, whether it's Aladdin or Lion King, Little Mermaid, all of those classic Disney movies are basically musicals. So in getting to watch these classic musicals now as an adult, I have a lot of appreciation for them. They definitely have that. They bring me back to that kind of almost have a nostalgic vibe, even though I've never actually watched these before in their entirety. But I really enjoyed this one. It's actually a really good story, starring Bing Crosby, Danny Kaye, Rosemary Clooney. It's obviously Christmas movie. It deals with war. It's kind of after the war. You have soldiers kind of going back to normal lives in different ways. You have these two guys that were kind of performers while they were at, deployed and doing shows to entertain the troops while they were deployed. So after the war, getting into entertainment, doing their show, performing as a duo, and kind of also has a love story where these two guys start to get to know these two women who also do a show, and they kind of get entangled while one of the guys is trying to get this other guy dates and trying to get him dating somebody, because it's definitely necessary for you can't be single. It's illegal to be single. You have to be in a relationship in society, and of course, that leads to some fun comedy, but the heartwarming aspect of this, where they end up at this like ski resort, but it hasn't snowed yet, so the resort's doing horrible. The resort's owned by their old platoon leader, and they want to do something special for him to honor him, because he used to be this great leader, and now he is kind of not as important as he once was, and struggling to run this business. And they try to put on this whole show. So it's a big show and dance type of a movie, a lot of great musical numbers, a lot of, a movie about people putting on shows. So you get to see behind the scenes, you get to see them preparing, you get to see them setting up and trying to promote it and plan it and all these things. And of course, there's miscommunications. But the end performance, where they're actually doing this surprise show for their old platoon leader, is like so heartwarming and emotional and beautiful. I mean, the performances obviously are amazing. The singing, the dancing, every aspect. There's so much entertainment on screen. Such a beautiful movie to watch. And also the perfect timing of it to finally snow, to finally give this snow resort the snow it's been desperately needing, just at the right perfect moment. The having all of the platoon members show up to surprise them is like, will choke you up. It's such a heartwarming, great movie, with a love story also, And I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I watched it finally, and it's a movie that I will definitely be putting on every year as part of the movies that I put on during the Christmas time, because it is great. It's such a great movie, and I really enjoyed it. And that's why it's here at number 2, White Christmas from 1954. I mean, I would imagine you've seen it. If you're watching this list, I would imagine you have seen some vintage Christmas movies, and you're interested at how I rank them, and probably not surprised that White Christmas is sitting here at number 2. But that's only number 2. We need to move on to my number 1. Let's take a little break from the show to promote the benefits of Inspired Disorder Plus. So you go inspireddisorder.com/plus. Sign up, $5 a month. You get to binge the full week of the Ray Taylor Show ad-free. You get to watch all of the live painting videos I do. You get a special members-only discount and deals for all of the artwork and merch that I sell. You also get the complete podcast back catalog of every podcast I've ever produced, hundreds of episodes, countless different podcasts. You also get access to my personal blog. A new blog comes out every week. In addition to that, you get my creative writing that I'm releasing. You also get access to Asking Me Anything. 14 years of experience podcasting. I've been creating art my entire life. I've been using Photoshop since middle school, and you can contact me to ask me questions about that or anything else. So those are the benefits for signing up for Inspired Disorder Plus. And now let's get back to the show. My favorite vintage Christmas movie. And this may not be surprising for most that know the movies that were released before 1960. There is a movie specifically that is one of the Christmas movies that almost is on permanent rotation during this time of year. And, you know, after rewatching a bunch of movies to make this list and kind of almost hoping to find a diamond in the rough to surprise me, to be that new discovery that would sit at the top of this list, like happens on other lists that I've done, where I will watch a movie that just blows me away and surprises me and is so, it's an honor to put that movie on my list and to let everybody know about how great this movie is. And despite the fact that this movie isn't some undiscovered hidden gem, that it is a movie that is very popular and is on permanent rotation this time of year, also makes complete sense. And it's a movie that I enjoy watching. It's got everything in it. And coming in at number 1, my favorite vintage Christmas movies that came out before 1960. This is a movie that came out in the year 1946. It's a Wonderful Life. My number 1 favorite vintage Christmas movie, starring James Stewart, Donna Reed. Such a great movie about Charlie, what's his name? George Bailey, who's this guy who's just like this good guy, right? Who's sacrificed his plans, his goals, his future in order to do right by his family, in order to do right by his town. Somebody that's given himself to his town and tried to do the right things despite having so many opportunities to sell out, so many opportunities to let the person that has all of the money just take over, right? This man, George Bailey, who's not willing to give up, who's willing to fight for what is right and willing to do the right thing and be good to people and to allow people to have opportunities in their town. And it's just an amazing story. I mean, from him being a kid, saving his brother's life, losing hearing, and then having to forego going to college to follow his dreams, because his dad passes away and doesn't want the evil villain to take over. So he gives up on college, lets his brother go to college instead, lets his brother kind of live his dream life, while George Bailey stays home, runs the family business, and does his thing, helps the town, saves the town, survives through the Depression, survives a bank run, survives trying to be bought out by this evil guy. And it also has sweet moments, has some fun moments, like the dance that he goes to, and like everybody's watching as he almost falls into the pool, and then they falls in the pool, and then everybody just jumps in, including like the principal. Like, just so much fun. Like, there's just so much fun and joy in this town. And then the love story that he has, and not only having to forego his dreams, going to college and traveling the world, but also even after he gets married, there's a run on the bank on his wedding day, and instead of going on a honeymoon, he instead stays to save the business. And his wife, trying to make up for the sacrifices that he makes, giving him this fake honeymoon kind of a thing, where this dilapidated house that they fantasize about one day owning and living in and making a family, she has people help to put up like posters and make it feel like their honeymoon, make it feel like they actually got to go away and have a honeymoon together. Like, there's so much love in this movie. And then to see how when his partner, or whoever it is, when he loses the bank deposit the same day he's being audited, and to see how after narrowly surviving so many tragedies that could have put that business out of existence, could have completely ruined him, to constantly somehow survive all of those things, and to now be put in this position where it feels like it's hopeless, and to see the depths of depression that George Bailey goes. And that's where, everybody in town's praying for him. That's kind of how the movie starts. Everybody's praying for George Bailey, and they send an angel down to kind of almost do a Christmas Carol type of a thing. Like, this is what it's like if you never existed. This is what it's like if you, like, showing him, giving him perspective and showing him an alternate version of history and what things would have been like if he didn't exist. To change his mind from not being a curmudgeon, not being a Scrooge, but from being somebody who's suicidal and depressed and wanting to give up, right? Which is dark, just in a different way, very dark, like the Scrooge story, the Christmas Carol story, but in a different way. Like, I mean, seasonal depression is a serious thing this time of year. And I really don't, other than this movie, I don't know many Christmas movies that even acknowledge, not that he's suffering from seasonal depression, he's just suffering from life depression, from what he feels like is the end of everything that he's sacrificed and worked so hard for. Like, sacrificed everything of his life to just have it all taken away because of one mistake. And then he gets that new clarity, and you see how everybody comes together to help him. And it's just like so heartwarming, and it's so emotional and just so amazing. And I love seeing a movie where the good guy wins, where being a good person is a beneficial thing. Like, despite constantly struggling, to see people rally behind the guy who's trying to do a good thing, the guy that stood up for them and did right by them, to see them all come back and to do right by him and to help him is amazing. And that is why, I mean, the journey, the ride of this movie is great. The heart that it displays, the humanity that it displays, it's such a great movie. And James Stewart is Jimmy Stewart, so good, so good. There was another one of his, Shop Around the Corner, that almost made the list as well. But It's a Wonderful Life is a classic for a reason, and it was an easy number one, despite my hopes that there would be something that could somehow surpass this movie. Didn't exist. Like, this movie is so, like, I mean, White Christmas definitely has a similar kind of a complexity, and has, you know, it's not necessarily as straightforward as maybe, I guess all of these kind of have some interesting aspects to them. But anyway, It's a Wonderful Life, my favorite vintage Christmas movie, came out in 1946. I love watching it, and it's a movie that, you know, I think I only really appreciated truly as I've gotten older, and as I can appreciate somebody like George Bailey, who sacrificed so much of his life and gave up so much of his dreams in order to do right by the people of his town, and to see how that all comes back and to help him out in his time of need. Such a great movie, and just a no-brainer for my number one. So that's it. That's my top 5 list. There were, you know, I watched a bunch of movies, you know, some I didn't have access to that seemed interesting, but these were movies that were also, you know, high on a lot of other lists. So even the ones that I watched that didn't make the list, which I'm blanking on all of those, like Shop Around the Corner was one. It's a good movie, though. A lot of great movies, but these are the cream of the crop, as far as I'm concerned, for Christmas movies that came out before 1960. So let me go through my list one more time. This is my top 5 vintage Christmas movies released before 1960. Starting off with number 5 is The Bishop's Wife. Number 4 is Miracle on 34th Street. Number 3 is Scrooge, a.k.a. A Christmas Carol, from 1951. Number 2 is White Christmas. And my number 1 favorite vintage Christmas movie is It's a Wonderful Life. Let me know how you would rank your favorite vintage Christmas movies. Is there a movie that you love that I did not mention on this list that I should check out? Let me know. I would love to see it. Today is Christmas, so I hope everybody is having a great Christmas and watching their favorite movies, spending time with the people they love, and enjoying the day, whether you believe in Christianity or not. I don't believe this is a holiday that is necessarily tied to religion as much as it intends to be. And I think it's definitely an opportunity for people to be good and to do good in the world, and to love everybody as you would like to be loved. And I appreciate every one of you for watching this show, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you for watching. And make sure you hit me up in the comments or on social media with all of your vintage Christmas movie recommendations. Let me know how you would rank, what your top 5 vintage Christmas movies are. I would love to hear them. With all that said, see ya next year.
New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere our podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at InspiredDisorder.com/plus. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at InspiredDisorder.com. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!
Today is the day where you wake up and you realize that everything that you've been dreaming about, everything that you've been wanting, every goal and wish and hope that you've ever had can become real. Dreams can come true. What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.